With this, I welcome Georg Etzel. Over to you, George.
Thank you very much, Amir, for the wonderful introduction. If you don't mind, I will be switching over to my presentation. I turn off the
Sure.
camera. So if everything goes well, you should be able to see my screen.
Yes, George, we can.
Awesome. Wonderful. So good morning, everybody. I am very honored to be able to speak to you on the emerging and disruptive industry 4.0 trends. Now, I don't want to use a lot of time on this, but in order to truly understand what Industry 4.0 means and the driving forces behind it, I'm going to take a short historic perspective. While inventions have been a distinctive part of the Homo sapiens, the first industrial revolution spun a distinct level of innovation that has impacted the world to this day. The first industrial revolution started in the late 1800s, early 19th century. What was it about? It was about machines replacing animal and human labor. While in the beginning, it didn't necessarily create new work, it enabled new ways of working because machines took over the part that humans and animals were doing before. Now, naturally, this was not the only reason that paved the way for the following industrial revolutions, but many other trends favored the jump and paved the way for innovation and wealth and prosperity. So, for example, standardization. Since the beginning of recorded history, the process of standardization has set the stage for immense gains in collaboration, productivity, and innovation. Standards allow us to find collective harmony within a society that grows increasingly complex. Indeed, it was broad standardization that paved the way for the Industrial Revolution to this day. Interchangeable parts, dramatically reducing costs, allowing for easy assembly of new goods, cheap repairs, and most of all, they reduced the time and skill required for workers. Now, seen from an overall human historic perspective, it didn't take much time. However, seen from a lifetime perspective, it took a long time before we came to the second industrial revolution. In the late 19th, mid 20th century, we entered into an area of mass production. Now, what did mass production do? It was all about machines and processes. The whole world was focused on process automation. We all remember these times. We saw the effect of this industrial revolution till our lifetime. I even saw the effects of this when I started my working life. Then, in the second half of the 20th century, early 21st century, we all know it was about the internet, the World Wide Web, globalization. One thing is for sure, the internet has come here to stay, and it has changed and impacted our lives completely. Maybe not the way we expected it, but it completely changed the way we work and how we interact in our lives. It brought about innovations and new abilities and possibilities. We are today in a different world than when I was a young man, and most of you were young. We have now entered into the fourth industrial revolution, where it's not just about automation, it's about analytics, it's about the Internet of Things, it's about cyber physical devices and how they all interconnect. Now that we've looked at history, we saw that the different industrial revolutions were impacted as well by forces and trends in history. And when I'm speaking about trends, there's one thing that is clearly a trend. We're talking about Corona. As a trend, you can truly call it a disruptive force. Let's take a look at it in some detail. And an interesting perspective to look at it is, has COVID affected Industry 4.0? And if yes, in what way and how much? Let's take a look at it. So when we take a look at it and reflect how fast the world has been moving around us in this COVID times, we all know from the newspapers, the TV, and everybody's talking about it. Consider for a moment how quickly e-commerce has replaced physical commerce in the last months. COVID has accelerated the growth of e-commerce in the last months for 10 years. We see a 33% and growing worldwide commerce is now digital. Let's take a look at consumers and brand loyalties and where they shop. The details here: 75% of consumers have tried different stores, websites, or brands during the COVID-19 crisis. And out of those, 60% of these consumers expect to integrate the new brands and stores in their post-COVID-19 lives. Even my mother-in-law, who's over 70 years old, who barely can function with her smartphone, has gone into the internet in order to buy presents for us. We see here a major shift in buying patterns, bigger than we've ever seen before. Now, everybody talks about it. Look at this and consider how the digital workplace has replaced the physical ways of working in the last few months. This is not a 10-year, but we see a 30-year worth of growth happening in just the last few months. This makes that there's so many technological changes in companies right now and how we all work that is affecting Industry 4.0 and the speed by which it is expedited. Well, this is crazy. Here we have 73.5% of workplaces are now digital. Out of those, 50%, 100% digital, and 16.5% are between 76 to 99% digital. This has given us a clear indication of the direction to where this is moving. So has COVID affected Industry 4.0? Yes, it has. Industry 4.0 is about the Industrial Revolution and about how we work. This means that COVID has triggered many of the things we're talking about, and yes, even accelerated it. In a way, good for those who have taken measures, but in a way, bad for those who haven't gotten even started. The question is, Would you recommend remote work to others? Out of a poll that we took, we found out that 97% of the people we asked answered a clear yes. Even after the lockdown, they cannot imagine going back to their workplaces and working as they did before. We even see digital tech giants known to offer their employees incentives of gourmet food, basketball courts, and ping pong machines. Now, the option to work from home or remotely. Technology giants tell that remote working after the pandemic is the future. This has come to stay, and people want to keep it. Here, I've listed an extract of some of the latest trends of what's happening out there in the market. We see current trends such as AI, robotics, 3D printing, nanotechnologies, networks, sensors, blockchain, shared economy, and crowdfunding. But what makes this so interesting is that they are converging. These latest trends are interlinking. These things are now interrelated. Since they're interrelating, they're triggering whole new waves and new trends, and whole new games are being created. Here on this side, on the left-hand side, you see the speed of change. Down at the bottom, you see time. Business innovation just follows about a linear degree. The way it usually works is that somebody comes up with an innovation, sparking the businesses forward till it goes up to the top, and then it plateaus back out. And this stabilizes till the next innovation starts. Now, before, what we did see is that technology was usually lagging the status quo, meaning people were eager to do way more, but were limited by the abilities of the technology. But we see a major shift now. What we see now is that technology is surging way past the status quo. I'm working with a lot of smart people worldwide, and I'm always surprised in how fast technology is happening right now, how many new inventions are happening as we're speaking right now. The speed of change has dramatically increased. As industries converge, they create new technologies, and those interlink and interact, commencing themselves new innovations, such that today technology is searching way past the status quo. As we see here, technologies such as cloud computing, augmented reality, big data, autonomous robots, the Internet of Things, they all converge. New technologies and innovations, they're surging previously in unimagined ways. Now, smart manufacturing at the center of this revolution triggers and interlinks. We see it interlinks and triggers smart cities, smart drugs, smart industries. They themselves are interlinked with smart transportation, smart building, smart supply chains. We're all moving, we're all changing. As a matter of fact, things are still changing even though we're sitting at home. When compared with previous industrial revolutions, the fourth is evolving at an exponential rather than a linear pace. Moreover, it is disrupting almost every industry in every country. And the breadth and the depth of these changes, they herald the transformation of entire systems of production, management, and governance. Imagine the possibilities of billions of people connected by mobile devices with unprecedented processing power, storage capacity, and the access knowledge. The possibilities would be unlimited. And these possibilities, will be multiplied by emerging technology breakthroughs in the fields such as artificial intelligence, robotics, blockchain, hyper automation, 3D printing, nanotechnology, biotechnology, and quantum computing. Now, here we looked at what are going to be the emerging trends. What can we expect in the next 5 to 10 years? Whereas we're expecting a tipping point to occur by 2025, where 10% of people were enclosed connected to the internet, where the first robotic pharmacist is in the United States, where the first 3D printed car goes into production, 5% of consumer goods printed in 3D, where over 90% of the population with regular access to the internet, where the first transplant of a 3D printed liver, where the first AI machine on a corporate board of directors. And actually, we can put a check on that because that has already happened. The Internet of Things and Industry 4.0 is the ground zero for a whole new phase of global digital transformation powered by technology, generating significant economic opportunities, reshaping the industries. We are more and more living in a fully interconnected world where it's going to impact what we buy, what we watch, how we communicate, everything in our sphere around us. We are in the middle of a technological revolution that is fundamentally going to alter the way we live, work, and relate to one another. In its scale, scope, and complexity, the transformation will be unlike anything humankind has experienced before. I conclude with this. How is this in Industry 4.0, this industrial revolution, how is this going to affect us? According to Gartner, they're expecting a growth of the GDP for over $70 trillion. That's a 7 with 13 zeros. All industries will be affected by it, and it will not matter if it's in transportation, healthcare, if it's in production or manufacturing. We're truly living in very exciting times. Change is the name of the game right now, and it's up to us to prepare for this change and to be ready and to participate in the wonderful times to come. Thank you very much.